We're starting on the NIO website today because NIO will be doing their fourth quarter and full year 2023 earnings conference call on March 5th. This is a Tuesday before the market opens, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I wanted to make people aware of it in case you didn't know. I'll link this and everything else that I talk about here with the tabs and the links for the tabs down in the description so you can check them out for yourselves. I don't know whether I'll be able to live stream it, but I'll tell you this. There's one thing above all I'm very curious about. In the last earnings call, only one of the analysts covering NIO asked the question and recognized that NIO is actually flirting with profitability in that quarter. And it's just been quiet. Like almost no one seems to recognize that. So I'm really curious, is she going to ask a follow-up? Is she going to be paying attention to that? I certainly will be. I'll be watching and I'm wondering about that. NIO could surprise at some point with profitability quicker than folks are expecting. So stay tuned. Let's see what happens. And now on to the insurance registration data. This for the week of February 19th through the 25th. NIO with about 2,300, it looks like 2,300 units. And this marks the date here. This is basically the end of Chinese New Year. I believe February 24th was the last day, Lantern Festival, and that sort of concluded festivities for Chinese New Year. Things operated at a different pace during that time frame. I was actually more excited to see how many people were making use and benefiting from the power swap stations across the country, as they were traveling back home to see family. That was really cool to see. And I think a nod in the direction of the future with NIO providing the grid with these power swap stations, all the partnerships and some of these other companies recognizing NIO as a leader and wanting to get involved and align with them. So although some may be really unhappy with the numbers on the delivery side of things, I've actually been just sort of tracking it, monitoring it, not really freaking out because the bigger picture, I think NIO has so much more of a global footprint potential than I ever thought they did at the beginning of when I first started doing my research into this company. So here is the breakdown. On the right-hand side for this week, you've got the ES6 800 units, the ET5s, the two models making up 930 units, the EC6 is the number 4 seller for NIO. And this is consistent with what William Lee and his expectations were, what he had told us last year about how he thought the models would be received. And so that tells me NIO is at least familiar with their consumer, their customer, their user in China. That's a good thing. That's a positive. Now on this over here, we basically on the right-hand side, we've got the break here from 2024 on the right side. And then on the left, we've got 2023, this 3,000 is sort of where we got accustomed to late in the year of 2023, where NIO was. I'll be curious how quickly they get back up to where that is sort of the baseline. And it may even happen as quickly as within March, where the 2004 models will be coming out for NIO. Let's just see what happens. I'm really just sort of sitting back, monitoring, tracking as we get data. And then offering kind of my bigger picture overview. NIO apparently looking at about 5,000 roughly for the month of February, and that is with most of the month in the books. I think February will probably be the worst month, probably by far, for the year for NIO. But let's just see what happens the rest of the year. NIO, of course, also coming out with Subbrands starting later in this year of 2024. So much. There is just so much that this company is doing. But this is also in my mind. In the future, China goes to all EVs, pure EVs in the future. And so companies like Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and Audi have been dominant in this premium segment, this piece of the market where NIO wants to compete. And so when I see that even on the weekly basis, Mercedes doing about 6,000 units, BMW 8,000, Audi 7,000, and this is a quiet time. There is obviously a lot of market still to go and basically transition into the EV space. And so I don't know when that all takes shape. I don't know if NIO can get itself positioned in time to take a big piece of that market. They have shown some promise, but it's still, I just think, so much earlier than maybe even what I'm realizing. And I have these little reminders that I see things and I'm just like, man, it just kind of pulls me back to, okay, the reality is a lot of folks, for example, here in the US still don't know about NIO. And even as I think about when NIO does come to the US, there are a couple of things that I really didn't have a strong opinion on before, but now I'm getting pretty excited. I think they're really bullish for NIO in a future US entry. And so, ironically, I never felt like NIO had to dominate in the US market, but I do think they're going to be well received when they come here. So a couple of reasons for that. I'll talk about them in future videos. but I would like to get this thing up and out. So thanks for stopping through and liking the video. If you, in fact, like the video, drop it in the comments. Thanks. I'll see you all again very soon.